everybody, and welcome to the Tesla Live number 223. Here we are on the 6th of October. I was thinking we were back in June.
There is a 10 in there. It's just
there is a 10, yes. So welcome to the show. We've got a ton of news, as always, never stops at Tesla, as we know. But first, to our panel. Mr. Patrick Connor joins us again after a quick hiatus. How are you today, sir?
I'm good. Hello, Tesla Nation. I missed you. I'm back here to have some fun with my friends. And let's get on with the show.
Fantastic. Mr. Casey Green joins us as regular from the DC area. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing pretty well. Both of my Cybertrucks have finally showed up.
Ooh.
Look at that.
Nice.
Cybertruck in the background.
Yeah. And then I spent 204 miles on the road today trying to improve my safety score and made it worse.
Oh!
Yes, I went from 99.4 to 99.2. And so now I've got to do 304 miles to stand a chance.
Oh, and that time is coming up this Friday? Or
2 days!
Could be
Not
Saturday.
weeks.
Who
2
knows?
days.
2 days. But that's going to be the first batch of 1,000 people, apparently, are going to be let onto the service. And
let's take a poll over in the comments. Do you think 1,000 people will get it on Saturday? Yes or no?
That'll be interesting. Yeah.
Something's going to come up.
It is going to be interesting to see if it continues to be 1,000 a day. If you're going to be at 100%, if you have to be at 100% to get in the first batch, the second batch, the third batch, how long do those numbers remain high? Obviously, they're going to remain quite high up, but I mean perfect. How long, how often, how many batches of 1,000 people will have to have a perfect score in order to get admitted into the program? That's information we won't get, but it would be very interesting and telling to know.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
There should be some, distribution curve. With I don't know where the middle of that would be, but there's got to be people in the 80s and 70s, and there was even a subreddit where they were trying to see who could get the lowest score, and I'm like, yeah, you guys keep going.
Right.
The more of you
Y'all do that.
The better my
You're helping my average every time you go low. Yeah.
Exactly. So I am number 68 in Tesla Scope.
Oh, what's this? It's a virtual scoreboard?
Yeah, virtual scoreboard.
Look at that.
So Tesla Scope has a new feature where they show where you are. So when I signed up, every car on here was a performance car of some sort. Plaid, Performance 3, Performance X. And here are the people that are top 15 right now. Oh, their cars, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, that's just people
Just
that have put in their own score, right? Like
No. This is Tesla Scope, so it'll pull from the car, and then you also have to have enabled the safety scoring. So there's some people in there that have one that haven't turned on the switch yet.
Okay, all right.
There are a lot more hundreds than I expected.
Yeah, quite a few. And as we were,
Casey, you can't just tease your Cybertruck and not tell us what it is and where you got it.
Oh, so while the Mattel servers were melting about 6 months ago, we saw our friends in Canada. So Trevor was actually one of the ones who first got his delivered. I don't know how you guys beat us to it, but you did. And so my two finally arrived, and I'm going to open this one and video it and try not to scratch it up like all the other YouTubers have done.
Just don't roll it, and you'll be fine.
So this is the one that comes with the ATV. It's a much bigger box than I expected. That's a pretty large printer that's underneath it right there.
You're not going to go in
the size of a printer.
Right.
You said you don't want to get it scratched, but I don't think you're going to go get a ceramic coating put on it.
No. I'm going to probably just drive it around one of the rooms upstairs on the carpet and then put it on my bookshelf, which is currently out of camera still.
There you go. That'll keep it scratch free, I'm sure, for a long period of time.
The other one's still in the shipping box, and I'm going to keep it that way for a while.
Well, let's hit the big news, of course, this week.
Yeah.
The quarter three sales results came in, and it was, surprise, surprise, another third quarter record for Tesla, hitting 241,300 vehicles delivered in the third quarter. And that was a little bit of surprise to Wall Street. Wasn't expecting that large of a number. And of course, you know what that means. Stock went down. No, it didn't. But
For once.
that's traditional logic. So it was interesting to see that actually the stock market played positively with that news. It looks like maybe, and I just mean maybe, they're starting to clue in to what has actually been going on with Tesla. All through the pandemic to this point, still hitting numbers, still breaking records, actually being able to produce cars when other manufacturers are having to stop or limit production. Tesla is really pulling out all the stops to make this happen. And we, of course, heard from the employees that they were pushing them hard to deliver every last vehicle they could right up until the 30th of September. And that number was a tremendous result. No one, a lot of people weren't expecting it to hit that high. So that is not an all-time high, but it certainly is an all-time high for the third quarter. So very good to see that. And now we progress into the last quarter of the year, quarter four. With Tesla continuing for some unbelievable way, they're able to pull out the stops and actually keep producing these cars. Where, as we mentioned, others just are having all sorts of trouble. We're hearing about double-digit percentage drops for other automakers in the quarter that they just couldn't produce. Had to limit production, put cars on hold. Have a number of vehicles that are parked off to the side waiting for parts to come in. Ford has, there was a number of different news stories about Ford having really large swaths of vehicles that were just waiting for parts. So this is surprising, not really, because Tesla seems to be able to be being a niche producer of vehicles. They're not obviously as large as Toyota or GM or Ford, but they seem to be able to tighten their loop of suppliers and get the parts they need for the cars that they're producing. So based on the numbers they're producing, they're able to shore up those parts. Not really sure how, but that's going to lead to another story we've got here today. So very interesting.
Definitely cool.
I think that we were all right when we said it's going to be somewhere around 1 million for the year.
That's right. We're actually, the three of us are at 900,000, 1 million, and 1.1 million were the guesses that we recorded quite some time ago. So
$1, Bob.
As $1, yeah. As we get closer to the end of the year, we'll have to be certainly checking in on that. But and you know, it's going to be even more of a, I guess, not. It's going to be more interesting to see when next year rolls around, when we've got the Berlin and Texas up and running. Then the numbers are going to get crazy large. So,
I mean, we're going to be impressed with the first little week, and then when they actually, figure out the vehicles, figure out each other, figure out the equipment, and then they get that thing rolling. We're going to be like,
yeah.
Once they get a
rollout going and it's running like Fremont runs currently, those two new factories are really going to ramp the numbers up to a crazy number. But we'll get to that. It's coming.
Hopefully they can make it so that the whole story of the quality of Tesla new cars is some long forgotten joke.
Yep, absolutely. Well, next seems to be a little bit more smoke about Tesla headquarters moving to Texas. There was a recent Teslarati article that was talking about rumblings that are going on. First, of course, was the moving of the annual shareholders meeting will be pushed to Gigafactory Texas. And they were kind of extrapolating that along with some other signs that have been going on. I'm not going to go through everything. Of course, the article will be linked in the show notes, so you can read it for yourself into the details. But we mentioned this on the show last week, maybe the week before, that this could be a sign that Tesla has already made the move to Texas in their minds, and now they're just moving pieces of the puzzle. We know about that now infamous tweet that came from a California representative, telling Elon basically the FO, and Elon's response being message understood or something to that effect. And that was kind of could have been a foretelling sign about what is planned here. Another point on the other side of the scale was that maybe moving it to Giga Texas for the annual shareholder meeting is to show us the progress that has happened at Giga Texas, which would be, again, great publicity for Tesla to push out there. They have the spotlight on them for the shareholders meeting. Why not show that a line is up and running, or indicate how far they've come in a number of different areas, the stamping, or something showing us that things are starting to move inside of that ginormous factory outside of Austin. So that could be the case too. But it's up in the air. We'll have to see as a few more of those puzzle pieces start to come down as to whether or not we see a clear picture that Tesla has decided to really move on from California for in the foreseeable future, or if something else has changed. But it is interesting. Will Elon keep his word about had he made that decision right at that time and started to put the puzzle pieces in place? We'll have to see.
There's two really bad timings that go with that. One is Texas is making the news left and right for all sorts of terrible things. And then this one he could have prevented, because this they knew before he spoke. They still can't sell cars there. It's insane.
Not directly. Yeah.
Yeah, that is something that, again, that has perplexed us on this show from the beginning, when we heard that they didn't even look at the resolution before they shut down in Texas that controlling body that makes those decisions. So, and we know that it's going to be just under 2 years before they meet again. So that's right. No sales in Texas. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, what happened to the free enterprise state or whatever? Nope.
They put that on the tin, but they don't believe it.
Right. Yes.
So I still say that the best way to kind of point the finger back at them, the rude finger, is to say, hey, everything that comes here is for export only.
Yeah.
I'm going to get them the California cars, and as much as they are so full of themselves and their Texas pride, they're going to be driving a bunch of Californian cars and trucks.
That would be a bit of a sting, yeah.
Yeah. And it's going to be interesting to see as to when those Model Y start to roll off the assembly line there, is how are those sales going to be made in Texas? So is it
selling from California?
It's drive it across the border and bring it back. Is it imported from California? It's the logistics are going to be kind of crazy.
Do they have to touch the ground when they get to the other state or Mexico?
Do they actually have to touch the ground?
I'm wondering. Because it's really just a round trip if they don't.
Yeah. So they have to be registered in another state and then brought back in.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that requires them to go off the truck, and then you can still
Somebody
get it
sits there and
delivered.
scans the trailer.
Somebody just comes out and goes stick, and keep it going, keep it rolling.
Product of Oklahoma. See,
Yeah.
Oklahoma again. They could have they could have been over this. Oklahoma wanted them there. Texas
Right.
didn't care.
Right.
That would be a great way to give Oklahoma a bone based on
Send them all the way to Tulsa.
Yeah, exactly. Or put a turnaround spot just across the border, and that's when the stickers get slapped on and trucks head right back. So
Right. Yes. Final assembly means this sticker was installed.
that's right.
Hey, my Volt had a Union sticker right on the door jam. It was done when the Union sticker hit the door.
Fun times. So
Yes.
yeah, that's going to be interesting to see. And as we can see, Gigafactory Texas getting closer and closer to completion. So maybe the shareholders meeting will show us some little extra about what's going on, and we'll get an update as to when they believe production is actually going to start. Next, if anyone happened to check out the National Geographic October issue, you would have been in for a bit of a surprise. Look at that. We've got Teslas on the cover, even though they're not stated they're there. It's painfully obvious that a couple of them are Teslas for sure. The forefront vehicle, and of course the semi in the background. National Geographic stating that electrification is here. The revolution is not coming, it's already here. And this issue talks about the electrification of transportation. So it's, again, good to see. This gets out into the public. It may get into hands of people that aren't normally aware of what Tesla or even the state of electrification and transportation currently is in today's world. And this is good PR. It helps, it allows people that may not be completely in touch of what's going on. It allows them to see that, hey, some options exist. They are out and available today, and we should be looking at maybe some of these things if we believe that what we're currently doing with our gas car, we're looking for alternatives. And it's funny, this comes out because here in Southern Ontario, a news story just came out on today's 6 o'clock news where they were talking about how gas prices have spiked and they continue to go up. And people are feeling the pain at the pumps as they're starting to see that those prices rise. It hit an all-time high here at $1.42 a liter here in the KW area. So that was kind of surprising to some as they see it go up a couple cents here and a couple cents there. And surprise, long weekend coming up for Canadians because it's Thanksgiving this coming weekend. And surprise, the gas prices have risen again. So nice. That's an old little game that gets played here in Canada when it comes to pump prices. Long weekends, they seem to go up regardless.
Yeah, the Weather Channel was talking about natural gas prices going up for heating and cooking this winter. So I've got Model 3, Ford Lightning, Tesla Semi, DJI drone, that NASA prototype. I know a couple people actually building them, so I don't know which one that one is. I don't understand what this one is. And
that is Zero? UFO, my friend.
UFO. This is a Zero? And is it the French or Japanese TGV or bullet train? And why?
Japanese, I believe, made it. But certainly the original was Japanese.
Yeah.
But yeah, very cool. So again, more publicity for electric vehicles, and the more the merrier. Helps us all out.
Derek was first in the chat. That's not on screen here.
Okay.
Cool.
Hello, Derek.
Yeah. So this is following along the Tony Seba's curve of how it starts out slow and it's a few percent, but it's growing every year. And if we can jump the chasm and get to the 18% market share, then we're out of early adopters, and that's when is going to go into the early majority, and that's when you really see the steep part of that S curve going. And so if we can just get to into the teens, we'll quickly be into the 40-50%. Once you're into that market, the economies of scale are going to make electric the obvious choice. And then after that, it's easy to get to 85-90%. There's always, the laggards at the end, but that's okay. If we're at 90% electric, I will be very happy.
and you're really describing what's happening in real time in Norway right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that they talked about, electrification, pushing out ICE cars by 2030, and they talked about what that timetable is. Well, it turns out the market in Norway is actually forcing the end of ICE faster than they expected, and they could be in a situation where ICE vehicles are really stopped selling as of next year. So that's remarkable, but that's exactly what Patrick mentioned about that S curve. It gets to a point where it just is now self-perpetuating. It's pushing it harder and faster as the days go on. So hopefully, as I said, we get into the teens. That's our next step to get onto the base of that S curve.
So with the batteries now, does that mean that you've already got Tesla scrambling for as many as they can get. Once they the battery manufacturers are very, very conservative business-wise. So is this the point that they actually start putting investments in, and we actually see more plants open up? Because it's not raw materials. Lithium is the third most common out there.
Right. Yeah. So I think we're going to see what Ford is doing, where they are effectively building a plant and having battery manufacturers populate it. But they built the plant. They own that real estate. The batteries that are made there are for them. So they don't have to go out and try to under the open market to try to get them and then maybe fall short as things explode. So
they're doing the same as Panasonic and Tesla then?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and I think if you don't do something like that where you have a guaranteed supply, you're going to be out of business because you're not going to be able to get it because, like you said, this curve is going to go really fast. Its battery constraint is going to be a major limiting factor, and if you don't have a supply, you're out of luck. If you're out of luck, you don't have product.
We fight for scraps.
Mm-hmm. And how much do you pay in the open market?
GM is also doing that with battery partners, and one plant under construction, second one's begun, so they're already investing in that as well. So you're right; they're seeing that the writing is on the wall. There is a need to produce the batteries yourself or have the batteries locked up. Otherwise, the vehicles aren't going to go anywhere. You need it. You need the same amount of batteries produced that you can produce vehicles.
Yeah, right.
You can probably try and argue with a regulator that you can sell the car without a speedometer needle, but you can't sell one without a battery. It won't go.
You got to be a really good salesman to sell that. Yeah. But that leads us.
How we phase out of gas. That's going to be really interesting. When the majority of new cars sold are electric, now all of a sudden the gas cars are going to start disappearing. The gas stations aren't going to have the people coming to visit them, so they can't make money on their convenience stores. And they're going to start shutting down, and then it's going to be a lot harder.
Station.
Yeah.
Hey, that Wawa and RS Automotive, they're doing great for snacks and the convenience store side.
Well, that's it. Some of them will jump to the hybrid model immediately, and the others that don't,
they're done.
They could be dinosaurs.
They're done.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Well,
Mark,
that kind of leads us to our next story, and that is
that's why I changed the subject.
about manufacturing of chips. And what is going on, Patrick? How does Tesla get these chips and continue producing vehicles when others are having so many issues with doing the same thing?
I'm glad you asked, because Teslarati has attempted to answer just that question. We have an article here titled, "How Did Tesla Find Chips? Morgan Stanley Breaks Down Impressive Q3 Delivery Performance." So, as we all know, people who are heavily interested in Tesla, Tesla's not just a car company. They're a technology company that happens to make cars. And when that is where you're coming from, if there's a chip shortage, well, okay, you're going to look at what else do we have in-house? What else can we get Okay, so we're going to have to change the firmware to adapt to that. We've got the technology, we've got the programmers, we've got the know-how, we can do it. Whereas other car companies, that's all been outsourced. Tesla is massively vertically integrated, but they also have relationships with a lot of suppliers. And so having that, we make it and we buy it, just like they do with their batteries, means that they can shift, and they have the flexibility to move between the two. When there is a shortage in one, you have other pipelines to make up for it. So this article here by Joel Klinder goes through 4 reasons, and I'll add my own 5th to it. The first one's vertical integration. We just talked about that. The second one is sophistication. Jonas writes that Tesla's in-house development of its vehicles comes down to the company's ability to install the best tech, including processors. So an electric vehicle has 3 to 4 times more chips than a gas car, and yet Ford was shutting down production because they couldn't get chips. Tesla wasn't. Why? Because they have the ability to adapt to this. So next on the list is negotiation. So Tesla is a company that has these relationships with their suppliers, and being able to work with them, the suppliers are able to find out what are the requirements going to be for the next generation of products. So they're looking at Tesla and saying, hey, this is a relationship that we need to keep and we need to maintain. And so that's another strong point there. And scale, the last one here. So if you have a company that is small but growing, and you say, okay, I want to double my production next year, but then, or in the next quarter or whatever, but then they fall 30% short. Well, you still had significant growth. Whereas if you're a company that's stagnant and they are 30% short, well, you've just dropped. So Tesla's scale and growth is really helping them out here, in addition to all the other factors. So that meant that the suppliers who we're working with were expecting to deliver more to Tesla than they did in the previous quarter. And that is not necessarily the case with all the incumbents that they deal with. So there you go. That's major Tesla advantages left and right, and it saved their bacon in this entire last 18 months.
Chips and bacon. I didn't know they went together. But
Right.
apparently
Another good point that was brought up that I liked was it pointed out that the Tesla is using current generation technology. They're not asking to use old stuff, so they can actually swap in between what they're doing for other companies right now. Still have the same lenses in there and just change out the blueprint, the template basically, rather than all right, we had to go get the machine from 6 years ago and set it up in the lab for a month. All right, we got to take it out and put the new stuff back.
Right. Yeah. When you're dealing with an old product line, it is not economical to expand that line. You've already depreciated everything. Those parts are no longer necessarily available. It's the new stuff. You're always doing better, faster processes, so that if you need to expand it, okay, that is more economical, and they're usually higher margin, and it makes more sense to do that. That's the place where a company will invest. In something from 6 or 8 years ago, that just does not add up.
Yeah, and what I really liked about the points indicated, Patrick, was the vertical integration. Again, that strikes. Being able to produce some of the stuff yourself, to understand it, and to purchase it from other suppliers gives them a leg up that they can scramble and modify and make changes because they understand the technology at a base form. And being able to say, if we swap this out and put this here, we may have to write some new code for it, but we can make that same chip do the operation that the old one that we can't get do it. So that is being on top of it, that you can make your own. You understand the basics, right at baseline, then you can build on that. And in this case, they've been able to make other chips work and do the same functions for chips they cannot get. So that's something that the legacy car makers, as you mentioned, they're just buying from suppliers. They've got no real understanding of what it is besides a spec that they have to buy by. So this is another big plus in the Tesla column.
And two really good examples of this: the MCUs, the MCU 2 in the Model Y, S, X, and 3 is running on the same chips as a lot of people's network attached storage devices. Like you got switches, you've got home servers, that sort of thing. They're all running on these same chips. And then the new S and X refresh, they're running on AMD Ryzen chips, the same as the Xbox and PlayStation. So it's not even like they have to say, "Hey, can you do a design for us?" They say, "Hey, you got any spares of the new console chips? We'll take care of the programming for you." It's like, "Oh, sure, we've got 30 cases. You can have them." Okay, great. Let us know when you got some more spares.
Right. Yeah, those are being produced in mass quantity, far above what Tesla's using, and so it's easy to get if something's economical to produce and you have some fab that's making in mass quantity, it's not a problem.
Very good. And speaking of
Mass
new
quantities.
technology, Casey's got the next story about the X.
Sure do.
What's going on there?
So our friends with the drone army have been scoping out the lot again. What are these? These are Model X's.
Look at that.
And you know what that means, because Model X hasn't been built in a year, so that means these are refresh Model X's.
Yeah, baby.
Yes. And
you can the air's thick with drones over Fremont tonight. Every night, every day, it never stops. I'm sure.
Is that the employee shuttle? A lot of the employees drive Teslas too. Not as many as you'd like. There's some more. Those are X's as well. That's next to the test track.
So that means that we could have some X refresh deliveries coming up.
Yes, I know a bunch of people have been waiting.
Yeah, there's a ton of people that have been waiting. So that's good to see that they're starting to produce some of them, and of course that also is a higher margin vehicle that's going to help them in Q4.
A lot higher.
Right. Yeah, I mean, starting price $99,000.
Right.
Yeah.
Now it's been up and down all over the place, like the stock market. I just need to make sure that I remind myself, waiting on the Cybertruck. We don't need two Model X's in one house.
No, but I am.
It's your
tempted. Turn. Yes, yeah. So I've got a 2016 X now. So it just turned 5 years old last month. And I try to keep my cars for 10 years because I don't make payments. I pay it off. I drive it a significant amount of time so that I'm not, because I mean, if you're just paying car payments and then all the time, it makes it really hard to save. So I'm literally postponing my retirement because I want to get one more Tesla.
Or if you can budget for it, it doesn't work as well with Tesla as it does with the other companies. That was one great thing with the leases, is that if you're already going to budget a car payment, that there it is. But that's not for everybody, and it's harder with Tesla because the other automakers will give you a significant discount to go with that, not just Tesla just basically cuts the price into 3 equal payments.
Exactly.
Yeah, and if it's a 3 or a Y, you can't even keep it when it's done. That was also one of the flexibility is a good recent lease as well, because then you have a choice of turning it in and walking away. You can buy it, or you can just pay the extra miles. But with the Tesla, you can only pay the extra miles or turn it in, and you can't. Well, on the 3 and the Y, you can't buy it and keep it.
So I know they said that was the case, but are they really enforcing it that way still?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because my understanding was that was going to be because they wanted to take the cars back and put them into the robotaxi fleet, which doesn't exist yet. So why don't they let people buy them?
I don't know why they don't just make an addendum to the contract and say, hey, why don't you?
Yeah.
If you do want it, here you go.
Right. And I think it made sense to make sure that people understood that wouldn't necessarily be an option, because you don't want to not allow it if that was what they anticipated. So,
well, there certainly was great fanfare about talking about the robo fleet and about having 1 million vehicles on the road by, what was it, 2021, 2020?
Right. Yeah, last year.
Obviously, it's not going to happen.
Well,
because,
the million vehicles will be
years
out at
ago-
the end of the year, and then if they all get FSD, then it wasn't a lie; it just was a stretch.
Right, they're capable. Yeah.
It was a long stretch, wasn't it? Really, I couldn't call that a stretch. That was a miscalculation, completely. So,
Right.
but that's interesting. That what happens with those lease vehicles?
But it does do two things, though. It keeps because, and we're seeing this today. The people who can hang on to their 3s and Ys, they're selling them for, a lot of money, and then it also means that Tesla controls almost all of the used market on the 3 and the Y, which is their more popular vehicles. So that they can artificially keep the price high. So then everybody is just doing well, new, used, third party with the Model 3 and Model Y used.
Yeah. Well, speaking of new, Casey's got another story about some new territory being
yes.
populated by superchargers. Where's that?
So, Morocco. So, our friends at Tesla have finally hit the African continent. Like the Tesla, the car company, they've been there on and off with the Tesla Energy, like power walls and stuff. But this is the first time we've seen any part of the car network reach Africa, and we know that if you're supercharging, either you've got a lot of people going on vacation there, or you're going to be selling there, because that was the whole promise of the supercharger network. Is hey, these are the popular routes, and here are the owners that live nearby, and so this is pretty cool. And Mark put in the show notes. They've arrived in northern Africa, and I want to posit that I think that South Africa is probably going to be the last market they hit, because they beat up Elon when he was a kid.
No loyalty to the old hometown, huh? None.
Well, it's kind of interesting. If you look at the supercharger map, you can see that it's kind of a spillover from Europe into northern Africa. Just the tip of northern Africa. So
it's not just smack in the middle like Mexico and Russia.
Right,
where did those come from?
Yeah, how do you even get there?
Yeah, you can't even get there.
These are connected to the rest of it, so it's a spread. It looks like it's an organic spread of the supercharger network, and of course, 2 superchargers were placed in Morocco, and definitely we can see it expanding from there. So, congratulations! And if you've been keeping track of the number of superchargers, I believe at this point, was it over 3,000 stations?
I don't recall now.
it's so hard to keep track of it, because it's just continuing every day. If you look at supercharge.info, you can definitely see the change chart. There's a new station open up almost every single day across the world. So it's a dramatic number of chargers that continue this rollout, and it's really interesting to watch it. And Patrick, you've been watching it for a long time, especially since it started on the West Coast. It must be a remarkable change for you.
It is incredible to see how the proliferation is just incredible. And you compare this with other networks, and they just nothing competes. Nothing has the connectivity that this has without big gaps. Nothing has the uptime or the number of stations per location. It's just Tesla's blowing away all the competition in this. This is their biggest moat.
Yep. I do want to point out that with it being a dual cable supercharger, that means it's a V2. You've got CCS for the Model 3 and Model Y, and then you've got Type 2 for the original Model S and Model X. Well, actually, all of them, but even the ones without the adapter can use this station because of that, whereas all the V3s are CCS only, and you need your adapter if you're on a Model S or Model X to use them. They're single cable. Yeah.
So,
as far as the modes,
so is that the same as Europe, Casey?
Yeah, the same as the.
So Morocco has the same type of superchargers that Europe has.
Europe V2, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I do also want to point out, I think their moat is manufacturing. We'll get to that later in the show.
Yes. Yeah, I didn't say it's their only moat.
That's right.
Okay. I'll give you that.
It's interesting that this is Morocco. So when I first started looking into EVs in 2008, I had this list of cars, and one of them that was on there was this $250,000 bespoke of car that you could only get in Morocco. And I was like, oh, I don't think I'm going to get one of those.
Right.
But yeah, it wasn't as easy to get an EV in 2008 as it is today.
That's true. Yeah, absolutely. The choices were not near as many, for sure.
Right.
Well, speaking of volumes, Tesla has rumored, and of course this is a rumor at this point because the third quarter details have not come out, but it's rumored to have sold 52,000 units in China in September, smashing its old record of 34,000 plus. So that is music to Tesla China's ears, I'm sure, because this indicates that, of course, this is not vehicles that are being produced and then shipped to Europe.
Right.
These are vehicles actually sold in China. So that shows huge pent-up demand for an increase, almost doubling what they had sold previously. So yeah, that's again, China continues to amaze us. Like they're really it's technical prowess, its ability to construct and operate factories, the sales of the vehicles, the Model 3, now the Model Y, and a combination. The amount we see those that brand new delivery center that opened up that had basically football field size inside to sell vehicles. The rows and rows of cars under the lights of the showroom. Just incredible. And as Casey said, there's more than one. There's a couple brand new ones, along with the army of others that have been there normally. So it's China's amazing. The volumes that are going on there are just remarkable, and it's in sales continues to dazzle us, and that's I'm sure that is music to Tesla's ears as they continue to reap in the rewards of being the first foreign manufacturer to be able to own their own actual factory, their own system.
Joint venture or any of that mess.
They didn't have to give half of it to a Chinese group that came in to basically siphon profits off the top. This allows them to operate it as they see fit, with some restrictions. It is China after all. There are some restrictions in place, but at least they have a bigger piece of the pie, and they have control over their own destiny as long as they stay in good graces with China's government. So
the first story that we talked about was Tesla's volume. So does that not give a breakdown of where? I mean, if we know they shipped 240 some thousand vehicles.
Yeah, we don't get that breakdown.
Yeah,
just like we don't get a breakdown between, is that when they say S and X, is that S's and X's, or is that just S's?
Right. They lump 3's and Y's together.
Exactly.
Yeah. So hopefully some more of that will come out in the future. It typically does, or especially when they hit new milestones. That kind of information tends to slip out in releases after the fact. So we'll definitely be keeping an eye on that.
Yeah. So when is their quarterly investor relations call? Is that or analyst call? I think it's tomorrow.
Oh.
But this might be the first one where Elon's not there, so it'll be far less interesting.
That's true. Yeah.
That's what he told us.
It would be disappointing not to hear Elon mention things as the call goes on, or those off the cuff responses that you really weren't expecting. And I have a feeling if Elon's not there, all that stuff is going to stop, because you're not going to have another exec that's going to go out on a limb with a response, because it'll get back to Elon. And he may have not have felt the same way when he wasn't on the call. So that could be very dangerous.
So last year it was October 21st. So we still have a couple weeks probably.
So, Mr. CFO, can you tell us what we're going to be doing next quarter? We said everything we want to say in the document. Did you read it? Hey,
Right.
so what can you tell us about this?
Yeah.
We're not speaking about this at this time.
Yeah, it's going to be a real short meeting. Absolutely.
Well, yeah, and that's what those are supposed to be for. They're answering. They're saying, "Here's what we did last quarter." It's not supposed to be talking about what's coming up, and
But as a Tesla fan, we really love that stuff.
Yeah,
I know
it,
it. I know.
it gave the whole thing color. Like before, it was all black and white, but Elon would just go off on something, and it was like,
Yeah.
wow, that's some
Give us
interesting
our
news
GD
that we didn't
freedom.
know about. Yeah, exactly. Well, speaking of corporate and what's going on with other auto manufacturers when it comes to their electric dreams, Casey's got a story about VW. Is
I
that you,
do.
Casey, or was it
That is
Patrick?
me.
I have one.
No,
Yeah.
Patrick has it. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, that's
Right.
right. Sorry.
Yeah.
We switched this one a couple times before the show.
Right. Yeah. Casey got the X. Even though I was the one that said that this X was going to live, and you were like, "No, it's gone. It's over."
It's gone.
I'm sorry, rubbing it in a little.
Well, I mean, it
Okay.
went out of production for a year. It didn't look good.
Yeah. Yeah. I still had hope. Okay.
I
so
had hope. I just didn't have any.
Right. Yeah. Okay. It's October. We have to tell a horror story because so VW has held a crisis meeting where they admit that Tesla's gigafactories are more than 3 times more efficient than their electric car plants. So we've been hearing for that the legacy car companies are coming, and their big advantage is manufacturing. Well, guess what? They're still manufacturing the way they have for decades. And yeah, right now that's great in high volume, but Tesla has innovated in multiple ways. They're not just trying to copy what VW and Toyota and others do. They're coming out with stampings, and they're working with Sandy Munro, and they're looking at redoing all the wiring, and taking it down from hundreds of kilometers of wiring in a vehicle to just tens of meters. And it's amazing how they are not just looking at, oh, we're going to be an electric car company. They're looking at everything from the ground up on how to do it better. And that's not what the gas car companies are doing. They're like saying, how can we take what we have and modify it? And that's never going to give you as good a result as starting from the ground up. So this is the second time that VW has had one of these big bosses meetings get together. And let's see, where did they cover how many? They invited something like 120 of their top managers. So these are all people making, $200K plus, and there's 100 of them. How much money did they burn just in this meeting when all they're doing is talking about things instead of actually, while they're talking, Tesla's taking action. They're spending their money on engineers, not executives. They're spending their money on factories, not press releases, not cheat soft. They're actually writing software to do things like enable chips, not work around emissions tests, kind of like important things. So one of the things that was interesting that came out of this was that Tesla can build their vehicle in approximately 10 hours, whereas VW's new electric vehicle takes 30 hours. So
yeah,
I thought that
30 hours.
Yeah,
The smaller one. Yeah.
right. So I thought that manufacturing was VW's big advantage. Well, no. Well,
German
why is it
engineering,
taking you
baby.
3 times longer to get it done? So I don't have a lot of hope that these legacy automakers are going to be able to do what they need to do. And even here, I think he gets it. He's in charge, but there's 100 years of legacy in this company, and the people that work there came there because they were gas car people. But this whole moving to electric is something that they're fighting at many levels of middle management, and just the fact that they're trying to get 120 people together in a room, you can't even agree on what to get for lunch, let alone what strategy the company should have. It's so if you're And this is not stock advice, but I'm not going to own any VW stock. I'll tell you that.
Certainly.
That is interesting, though, that this crisis meeting was held, and I could just see the CEO saying, "Listen, we bought into this. We're going to do it. We said we were going to do it. We've started to produce, 2 models currently. It's going to be 3. It's going to be 4, and we can't catch up to this small, scrappy company that started up and just recently hit some volume numbers that even made it any significance at all. And we can't even catch them. And
Right.
Making a vehicle in 30 hours as opposed to 10. And the other thing is, as VW tries to right the ship to get things faster, to get things more efficient, Tesla's not standing still. They
Right.
are modifying and iterating based on what's happening in their situation. So it's not like, VW, well, give them 6 months, give them 8 months, give them a year, they'll catch up. No, they might catch up to where Tesla was partially, but
Mm-hmm.
Tesla's innovating as well. And that, of course, allows them to continue to accelerate. We already knew that any of the ID models are not as efficient. They're heavier. They have more batteries and cost more.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not efficient on many different platforms. So, Tesla, again, vertical integration, owning these different moats that separate them, charging stations being one of them. That vertical integration, even get down to making their own seats. It's
Mm-hmm.
something that allows them to say, we can do it better because we understand what it is. Just like the chips we were mentioning, if you know how the chips work and what they're used for exactly, you're not just forced to buy a spec off a shelf. You can iterate, you can make things happen in different ways. And that's what Tesla is doing as a whole across everything: sales, service, production. It's all leading to them being unique in the industry. And
Right.
it continues to be so.
So
Yeah, I was looking at Bosch as a company and what parts they sell into the automotive industry. So they would buy commodity chips, package them up, and then sell larger components to the vehicle makers at a 50% margin. Whereas vehicle makers sell their cars, they're lucky to get 15% margin. So if you are instead of getting it from a supplier, doing that yourself, now you aren't giving 50% margin to someone else to do it.
Yep. So one thing I found interesting with this, they actually had basically 2 meetings there. They had the crisis meeting, and then they had the PR meeting where they said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna do the same as Tesla," but in the rah-rah meeting, it sounded like they said they're going to go where Tesla is now. So they're skating to where the puck is now, not to where it's going to be when they get there.
Yeah.
So
Right.
so they'll get a 10-hour car, but then Tesla will be looking at maybe a 6-hour car or less.
Right.
point.
Yeah, they said they have this thing called Project Trinity, which they've pulled in from 2026 to 2024. So if they're lucky, they'll in 2024 they'll be where Tesla is in 2021.
And that's still a 3-year gap. So guess what? They're going to be skating a long time to catch up.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Where's
Well, I
Hockey
think,
Day?
yeah,
Yeah, right.
it's here somewhere. I would think that just based on time, we're going to skip my story, Casey, and move
Okay.
to your last story. And
All
that's going
right.
to screw up the banner, but that's all right. I let you know with seconds to go. So
Yes, you did. So we spoke a couple weeks ago about how, actually at the end of August, how Tesla had submitted an unsolicited bid to the city of Fort Lauderdale, and then they had 45 days to wait to see if any competition showed up,
that's
and
right.
they didn't. So now the city of Fort Lauderdale is in meetings and negotiations with Tesla. They had a 4-1 in favor meeting to do the boring tunnels, and we're looking at a 2.5 meter pair of tunnels, which is significantly more than the Vegas tunnels at 0.8 miles each. And so at this point now, they're gonna they know they need to fight traffic, and they're gonna do whatever it takes to try something fresh. And this happens to be the Boring Company.
Yeah, so that's negotiations open with the Boring Company.
Yeah.
So
Curious to see
now,
what they pick.
yeah, well, there's there. I guess that comes down to the nitty gritty, getting detailed soil samples, understanding what the actual build is going to be like, what kind of utilities and things are going to have to be moved, if any. Looking
What
at,
trash
of
can will be at
course,
the station?
yep. Looking at the ability for tunnels to handle the water, the monsoons that happen in Florida every once in a while.
Who
Yeah,
pays
you
for
got
the
to have some
rides?
hurricane doors. Just
Hurricane doors, yeah.
close these.
But
Alligator
yeah,
prevention.
alligator prevention. That's a good one. Yeah, I never would have thought of that one.
Whose job is it to make sure that the communications are done? How much each ride will cost? Who does the maintenance?
How it's going to be paid for? Are the taxpayers on the hook for this? Is it going to be a shared system that the boring company produces it and then charges for rides, and a percentage goes back to the county or to the city? What kind of infrastructure? How's it going to be paid for? It's certainly, they've got their general price due to the unsolicited bid they've already received. But being able to put the figures to it and be able to explain to your tax base as to how this affects them or doesn't affect them.
Right. I wonder if it's going to be a lease where the boring company owns it and they charge, or if it's going to be like Vegas where this section is guaranteed free rides, but then when they expand it, that's not free rides.
Right. So that's certainly open to interpretation as to how this is going to be handled. But the good thing for the boring company is that there was a demonstration model in Vegas that allowed this new model to come on board. So having another project green lighted certainly is going to be a big win for the boring company. Having a second publicly opened tunnel is going to spur others to think about it and to understand it more. And that certainly is going to be a big plus for the company as it gains traction in the tunneling world.
And since Russell doesn't want to go to Vegas and take the video, I'll go to Lauderdale and take the video for you guys.
Cool. But just a side note to mention, we're talking about the safety scores and about Casey Patrick getting introduced to FSD beta. Hasn't been a whole lot of talk about FSD in the tunnel. Like we know that that's coming. We believe that might be an easier go of it because of the lack of people and things wandering around in front of your vehicle, having it first happen in the tunnel. But we haven't heard any news at all about some automation happening or testing of automation. No one's ever mentioned that to this point.
It'd be kind of funny. Yeah. Right now, you don't get to pick alternate routes. The car decides you're going through a boring tunnel, and then it charges your credit card on the way through.
And it says, "Oh, turn around and go back," and you go back through the tunnel. Double charge. Yeah.
You made a wrong turn.
Sorry,
no, your car made a wrong turn.
Way. Ding. Yeah.
Yes.
How to increase revenue? That's vertically integrated, isn't it?
Right. What happened to Patrick?
I think we lost Patrick. No. Maybe he didn't like that joke.
I guess not. There he is.
Okay, he's coming back. There he goes.
Yeah, sorry about that. VPN timed out.
Oh, he did.
Well, with that, that kind of wraps up the show. And let's get some final shout-outs for the week. Casey, let's start with you. What do you got cooking on the YouTube channel?
So I've got this video about increasing your safety score coming out, and I was hoping to get it to 100 to just kind of close out the video, but we'll see tomorrow how it's looking, and if it's not, then I'll just tell you what I do know and put that out there, because I want to have it out before we start Friday, start downloading. And you can check that out as well as my Sunday live streams at youtube.com/KACEYGREEN.
Very good, very good. Mr. Connor, any thoughts closing out today?
Oh yeah. So safety scores. Don't be unsafe trying to boost your safety score. The irony. Drive safely, but not. Don't worry about if you need to stop suddenly because there's something in front of you. Stop suddenly. Don't crash into it.
Right.
That's not going to help your safety score. And if you need to take a corner at a certain speed, don't slow down too much so that you get rear-ended. That would be bad. So it's not worth a injury or even an insurance claim to try to get a higher score. Just drive normal and safe. There you go.
There you go.
And which means I'm not going to be in the immediate first round because my score is in the low 90s. But that's okay. I don't care. I'm not even looking at. I'm not changing anything. So there you go. So I have. I just mentioned my car has turned 5 years old, and I've been tracking. Yeah, thank you. I've been tracking the battery degradation every year. And I thought, oh, maybe after year 2 it'll slow down. Nope, year 3 was just as bad. Maybe with year 4 it'll slow down. No, year 4 was just as bad. Oh no, what is happening? Finally, year 5, it's leveled off, and so I'm at 8% degradation. And for year 5, there's always some noise in this data, so it actually looks like year 5 has gone up. I've had some anti-degradation, which again is not real. That's not how batteries work. It's not, but so that'll level out over time. So this is awesome. This is just a little. We always say buy as much range as you can because you're never going to regret having extra range. So you should always get at least 10% more because you should count on some degradation over the first 4 or 5 years of the vehicle's life. And who knows? I mean, if you're cutting it that thin, you might move or get a different job or whatever. Something's going to change in your life and you'll wish you had 5 or 10% more. So always try to get at least 50% more than you think you need, and then you're in a good spot. So
I'm at 7 to 8% degradation.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we're in a similar, although mine's a little older than yours.
It's older than mine, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to the track, and yeah.
That's true. Towing.
Yeah, I'm not towing. I don't even do a lot of supercharging, even though I have free supercharging for life. Yeah. We did a little bit of. We went to the coast when there was a heat wave here in Portland in the summer. We went to the coast, and it was perfect timing. And I think I supercharged once on the way home, and that was about it. So it's nice to be able to drive 100 miles or so and not even have to worry about it. And the hotel we stayed in had a Tesla destination charger, so I was able to plug into that and not heat up my batteries and degrade them further and still be able to get home. So yeah, fun times. And I have this all coming out on my blog, carswithcords.net. You can see the little thing right there, and that's where I log my venture on my progress towards a future free from fossil fuels.
Got it in.
Yes. And hey, thank you, Casey, for covering me last week with that.
It's a pleasure.
Well, if you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up at this point. Press that subscribe button if you haven't already. That helps us out with the numbers with YouTube, and that would be greatly appreciated. And with that, we will roll the music and talk to you next week, and we will find out what's going on in the Tesla life.
Stay positive.
Good night, everyone.
That's negative.